styles make fights game is going to be the key.
Yeah, it really is. It's kind of an intriguing matchup. Whose will is going to impose on the other?
5:49 left in this third quarter. As we mentioned, 5-point game.
And the Raiders really got to keep this game close because I don't think they've got the capability of a pressing type of team to fall behind more than double digits and then they make it back up with their own pressing. So they're going to have to kind of keep this game at a 1, 2, maybe 3 possession max game to keep this close and have a chance to win.
Over Smith at the right wing, down to Greg. Greg fights to get inside, passes it out. Bondu rolls out from 3, but Smith grabs the rebound, puts it back up, and is good from inside the paint. Up to Taylor. Gulf Coast returns to that press. And a stoppage.
Didn't look like the shot clock started, so they're going to reset that or get it back to where it should be. Good job that time handling the pressure. Taylor makes a ball fake, gets the defender to go one way, comes back to another with a pass. That's what you have to do. It's kind of a cat and mouse game, a little decoy action, if you will. Game within a game is what we always say.
Taylor at the right wing. Up to Sembene. Now to Da Silva. Freshman out of London, England. Back to Peoples at the top of the key. Back to Da Silva. Surveying the defense, takes the screen, pulls up. No good there from Da Silva. Smith with the rebound. Smith continues to do it all for the Commodores. Farsi now dribbles it up over to Slade. Slade a little off target, but gets it to Smith. Smith goes behind the back. Gets a shot inside, but can't convert on it. Peoples with the rebound. And Da Silva brings it back up. Da Silva at the wing. Over to Taylor. Taylor looks down low, now finds Peoples inside. Free throw jumper, can't get it done on that one. And Bondu will bring it back up. Now Farsi pulls up wide open from the 3, and she gets it.
That's the double-digit lead we were talking about. Jake, you don't want to fall behind with this team and have a position where you got to get out and press. A lot of time left still, but momentum has definitely gone back to the Commodores.
Sembene, no good. Ball out of bounds. And it seems like the trend in this game is that Northwest Florida keeps fighting back, but then when the Commodores get that 2-guard combo back on the court, that seems to be when the Commodores are able to stretch out the lead a little bit. That dynamic 2-guard combo along with Bondu in the middle and Slade and Greg seems to be the thing that's hurting the Raiders the most.
Yeah, and Greg has had an off game, but what Northwest has to do is a better job of rebounding. You know, the referees aren't calling the over the back.
Ooh.
And a couple times it's been opportunities where they could have had those calls, but if they're not calling, you got to do a better job of blocking out and rooting that player outside the lane where it doesn't become a situation where it's an over the back. But they've created some loose ball situations just on the fact that they haven't accepted a block out. They've gone over the back, and if it's not called, then it's not a very good block out in my opinion.
Kirkendall will bring it up the floor for Northwest Florida. Guarded hard by Farsi. Over to Peoples now. Pinto at the left wing. Peoples top of the key. Back to Pinto. Back to Sembene now. Pulls up from the corner. No good for Pinto there. Peoples grabs the rebound. Inside to Sembene now from Taylor. A big play right there. Taylor not shooting well, but has made a few huge passes, huge looks, and dropped a few huge dimes in this game.
Yeah, that was a big possession there to get that turnover and basket. Greg forgets about the perimeter game and tries to go inside, which is a good move for her. She's a talented offensive player, but hasn't found anything offensively from the perimeter. Good job of finding that matchup and exploiting that, drawing the foul.
And Taylor, you know, the thing you like to see, she's 0-5 from the field, but that hasn't deterred her from doing things on the court. She's got 3 rebounds, and she made that big assist right over here just a second ago, and had on that big turnover, that big back and forth that you had. She's the one that made that full court pass to convert. So Taylor's still getting it done, passing the ball well in this game especially.
Yeah, I agree.
Kirkendall going to bring it up the floor. Waves off Taylor. Smith asks for a double dribble, doesn't get it. Peoples probes inside, backs out. Now to Kirkendall. Takes the screen. Just got caught in a hard place right there and couldn't find an out.
Yeah, just you don't want to make an entry pass from there.
Greg, no good. Good defense from Peoples, doesn't move, avoids getting a foul right there, and now they return in transition, can't convert there. Sembene twice can't convert. Peoples grabs the rebound, now back up to Kirkendall, and the Raiders will reset. Pinto from three. Nice, rattles around the rim, goes in.
It's a home court bounce there. Big shot, knocks the lead down to 6, but referees let them play a little bit that time on both ends.
Yeah. So after Smith and Farsi communicate, they go into motion. Pass to Greg, back out to Smith now. Offense resetting. Smith all alone, pulls up. That mid-range jumper. She has just been automatic tonight.
Yeah, she's a fantastic player. She's by far, I say by far, the best player on the floor.
Pass over to Peoples. Peoples can't get it, but gets her own rebound, puts it back up, and goes in that time. I'd say the other contender for best player on the court, I think you may have to give it to Smith, but Raven Peoples right now is a close contender for that spot.
Yeah, she's playing her tail off. Really effort plays, really fun to watch her. She's breathing hard, but she's giving it everything she has. So yeah, I definitely agree. Two different players. You got the guard and you've got the post player.
Smith up to Slade, top of the key. Slade pulls up and is nothing but net. First shot we saw from Slade in the game right there, and she just splashes it from three. Peoples hands off to Kirkendall. Kirkendall hands off to Pinto. Pinto probes, takes the jumper from the top of the key. No good there.
Just really a difficult shot and nobody there to rebound.
Farsi brings it up. Drives again to the basket. Just barely gets it off, but Greg can't convert there, so Greg's off night continues. And now we enter the fourth quarter with the Raiders trailing 49-58. You mentioned you got to keep it in striking distance. I'd say it's right there in striking distance, but they're going to have to do something early in this fourth quarter to keep Gulf Coast from separating. Gulf Coast is shooting the ball so well right now.
Yeah, you don't want to get down 12, 13, 15 points in the fourth quarter against a team that has the guard play that Gulf Coast does. So the Raiders are going to have to really establish themselves inside and be able to handle the pressure a little better than they did. Gulf Coast, you know, Coach Scoville, they don't hand out national championships, so she made a tremendous move. And her brain trust over there with Grover Hicks, he's been around for a long, long time, knows the game probably better than anybody I personally know. So he's I'm sure they talked about it at halftime what they could do and probably saved it a little bit. Maybe they could have pressed in the first half a little bit, but sometimes when you press all the time, you allow a team to get comfortable handling that pressure. But when you come in sporadic periods of time, it doesn't allow a team to get comfortable. So that they've picked and chosen their pressure spots in good terms, and now they've got a 9-point lead going into the fourth quarter. Raiders are going to have to establish themselves back inside again to kind of narrow the margin.
Now here's the tough number if you're Northwest Florida State right now. Gulf Coast is shooting 60% from the three-point line. How do you stop that? You know, the field goal percentage, that's something where you play a part in that. The defense, letting them get inside, that 71.4% free field goal percentage for Gulf Coast right now partially has been on the defense of Northwest Florida. But when a team is that good from deep, how do you stop them?
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, you look at 45 assists. I mean, to be able to knock down a shot, that's her only shot of the game. She's not a high-volume shooter where she needs a lot of three-point attempts to find the rim and to find the net, excuse me. She had one opportunity and she nailed it. The thing I'm sorry, 34 is
Slade.
Slade.
Yeah.
The thing I like about Gulf Coast is they know their roles. They know their identities. They know who the players are. They know who the scorers are. And it's not equal distribution.
Fumbles it there. Greg going to drive to the basket. No good. Senbene with the rebound. Looking up court is Kirkendall now. Up to Taylor. Taylor hesitates. Inside. Good there for the Raiders.
That's what
Musha
they have to do.
Al-Hassan.
Yeah, the Raiders really have to go back inside.
Slade over to Bondu.
Raiders really need to stop here. 7-point game, but
Slade back at the top of the key. Now to Smith. Takes the screen. Drives all the way to the basket, but is blocked there. Pinto with the rejection.
Under 10 seconds there. Smith with the poise to go ahead and understand she needed to take that.
Smith will inbound now. Looking around. Bondu outside. 4 on the shot clock. 3, 2. And a shot clock violation there. Just not aware.
No.
Not aware of the shot clock on that possession.
Now, in a game like this, with two heavyweights, you got to be focused, and she had no idea. That's why you saw Smith inbound the basketball and sprint toward the basketball.
Yeah.
She knew, but she was inbounding the ball. When she didn't get it, she knew there was going to be a shot clock violation.
Kirkendall off the screen, takes it to the basket. Fumbles it, loses it. Farsi now looking up court. Going to take it herself over to Smith. Smith pulls up from mid-range. Oh. Just been automatic all day long. Pinto takes it all the way. Rims out. Now up to Smith.
This should be fun. That's
foul right there, and Laura Taylor shakes her head. She doesn't like the call right there.
And it wasn't a foul. But that's the kind of player Smith is. You know, she's entertaining to the fans, but sometimes as an official, you can get caught up, and she's that good. Oh, she must have gotten fouled. No, that was a clean block and should have gone the other way. But she got the benefit of the doubt because of the talented player she is.
Makes the first.
Yeah, she's real deal. 10-point lead now. She has 26 of the 61 points. But the thing about it, Jake, she's got 9 rebounds. I mean, she's doing everything for them. And we don't have the updated stats, but her, and she's doing it at a high rate of efficiency. It's not like she's shooting 30 times and averaging 24 points. She's probably shooting 20, 22 times a game.
No, this feels like a video game performance that we're watching right now. Just the rate at which she's making shots and creating shots and doing everything on the floor. Taylor from the elbow, no good there. But loses the rebound, and Pinto takes advantage.
Right time.
Farsi now dribbling it up right wing.
Right time, right place.
Jones goes all the way across to Bondu, but it looks like she stepped out.
Yeah.
So another lapse there from Gulf Coast.
Same player who had the out-of-bounds shot clock violation.
Inside, Pinto working at the free throw line, down to Peoples. Peoples dribbles around, reverse layup, and gets it in. 7-point game now with 7 minutes and change left. Pass up to Smith. Smith touches it, loses it. Raiders now have another chance.
She's human, huh?
Yeah, that may have been the first mistake we've seen all night. And that wasn't even a mistake. That was more of just not catching a wild pass.
Well, and then the defender came by and kind of probably took her eye off it.
Yeah.
She just made up for it.
Yep. Taylor runs back. and has enough defense on that play, but the Commodores grab the rebound. Farsi puts it back up.
But I'm laughing because it's so entertaining to watch a smart player. You know, she missed the layup. She's played every single minute of the game, so fatigue has got to be a factor. And as a coach, you can't be mad at that. She missed the layup, but it was a contested layup. But she goes out of bounds, and she couldn't get the ball back herself. So she tipped it to Farsi, who has the opportunity now to go to the line and make 2 free throws and extend this lead. Smith or Coach Scoville with a really good substitution there, getting Smith out, giving her a little bit of a break with a lead, a little bit of a cushion here. Maybe they can steal some possessions and give her a little bit of a break.
Raiders looking to cut into this 9-point lead. Kirkendall at midcourt. Waves off Sembene. Now Peoples sets the screen down to Peoples. Peoples inside. Great possession there. Just a classic pick and roll.
Good roll by Peoples.
Farsi brings it up over to Bondu. Bondu back to Farsi. Thought about it. Didn't like what she saw there. Slade now with the screen. Farsi goes to the left of it. Back out to Bondu. Bondu pumps, shoots, wow. A great shot there from Bondu. And her and Sembene jawing as they run down the court.
I'm going to have to just disagree with you. I think that was pure luck. She line drive that in.
Well, great. Great has varying meaning.
She was trying to draw that foul.
Peoples, another great play there from Peoples.
Great pass by Sembene. She's played well tonight. 15 points, 4 rebounds. You know, you look at the lineup. You've got Sembene, who's probably a forward. You've got Pinto, who's an interior player. Peoples, obviously, an interior player. Really not much production from any of the guards. Kuykendall has 5 points and a couple fouls. On the other side, you have Gulf Coast with Farsi with 11 and Smith with 28. But Mandu has 15. Yeah, she's been productive for them.
Yeah, this hasn't been, you talk about an 8-point deficit, hasn't been, missed free throws, yes, there's been some issues there, but this hasn't been an error-filled game for Northwest Florida. It's been a solid performance, and trailing 8, that just goes to show you how good the team on the other side of the floor is. That's the reason that this Gulf Coast program has won 3 of the last 4 national titles. A stat which still kind of blows your mind when you think about it. That's just unparalleled.
Yeah, they've got a program that just is, like I said, is built on playing basketball the right way, playing team basketball. And what they've done, I've complimented Coach Scoville on, they've always kept their kids fresh.
Ball goes out of bounds there. It'll be Raider basketball now. Wild return pass. So Smith back in now for Rashara Simmons for the Commodores. And now in this last final 5, the battle becomes trying to contain the trio of Bondu, Farsi, and of course Smith.
Well, Simmons I think she's seen her last minutes of the night, but that's another turnover for her because it was just a poor angle.
Taylor passes out to Peoples. Can't convert there. Looks like the foot was out.
Tough break for the Raiders there. Missed the point blank and just looked like they had the offensive rebound and just puts the foot out of bounds and turns it over.
And Taylor really being smart in this one. Had the open shot, but on an off night decided I'm not going to take it. I'm going to pass to Peoples, who's having the great night, and she just can't convert on that one. Smith, no good. Back to Smith. Good on that one. Tatiana Jones with the big play right there for the Commodores.
Yeah, that's just an effort play right there. You've got to come up with that defensive rebound if you're Northwest.
Inside to Peoples. Passes back out to Kirkendall. Semibene. And a 3-second call, it looked like, on that one from the official. 10-point game with 4:41 left.
Great job on the post defense by the Commodores. They triple team Peoples. She really doesn't have anything, has to force it back outside, and she doesn't remove herself from the three-point line area and gets a turnover. But the guards for Northwest have got to be able to knock down some shots and be able to loosen some things up for Peoples. Peoples has too much traffic down there. They've made an adjustment defensively that's what they're going to take away and see if Northwest can beat them in other ways. And Northwest has proven that they can at this point.
So again, a 10-point game against the program that has won 3 of the last 4 national championships at this level. And, you know, you look at these numbers, and again, when I say it's not an error-filled night for Northwest Florida, they're shooting 64% from the field, 33% from 3. The 50% from the free throw is kind of the struggle. But, you know, these numbers for Northwest Florida, it's just, it really comes down to you're playing a good night, but you're playing against a team that's having an elite night. That's really what it comes down to.
Well, and it's a 4-quarter game. I know that's kind of a cliche, but it's a 4-quarter game, and there's a lot of possessions that go in the course of the game with a 30-second shot clock. I just think it started in the first quarter when they gave up 23 points in the first quarter by just not really playing good half-court defense. And you can get up and down on press all you want to, but when it comes to playoffs or playing championship basketball, you have to be able to play well on the half court. And that's on both ends. That's on the offensive end. And more importantly, it's on the defensive end with eliminating easy buckets for the opponent and also being able to defensive rebound. I'm not sure that Northwest, with their size, has really dominated the glass like they should have on the defensive end. And that has allowed Gulf Coast to kind of hang around. I think on a neutral site, but you play this game 10 times, I think maybe Northwest can win 5. But now it's a 10-point game, and Gulf Coast has the ball with under 5 to play.
Over to Jones. Jones to Smith, sets the screen. Back to Farsi.
And they're gonna work every bit of the shot clock. It's down to 16 now, but I would be surprised. Well, she takes a tough shot.
Bondu hits another jumper, extending that lead. 71-59 now as we near the 4-minute mark. Down inside to Peoples, but the block from Smith. Smith is just everywhere tonight. A great play there from Smith. Bondu knocked down, but the Commodores keep the ball. Rooney Scoville commanding that team. Over to Bondu. Farsi with the screen. Bondu over to Smith. Inside to Jones. A great look there for Bondu, but Jones can't convert, which means Kirkendall going to bring it back up for the Raiders. Looking up court, seeing nothing. Over to Pinto, top of the key. 3:39 now left in this game. Semibene spins around. Nice move there from Semibene. Back to a 10-point game.
Probably could have burned a timeout there if you're Coach Walker. He wanted to get in some type of pressure.
Farsi over to Bondu. From 3, short on that one. Taylor with the rebound. Now Kirkendall will bring it up. 2:53. Clock becoming even more and more of a factor with every second. 10-point game. Taylor at the left. Outside to Pinto as she runs in. Pinto back outside and a travel there. A big error there for Northwest Florida.
Now you've got 2:39, 10-point game. Gulf Coast or Raiders are going to have to pick up full. And good timeout by Scoville, not risking that. Wants to get her team in a press break situation so they can attack this. This is where you're kind of careful with. I know you want to win the game, but this could easily, with the guard play of the Commodores, this could open up with the press. This could open up to a 20-point game, and in no way is it a 20-point game. But, I mean, you got to play this team another 2 times in conference play. This is just the first go-around. You want to give your team some confidence in a psyche that, hey, you know, we're just as good as they are. But when they start looking at the score and you lose at 20 at home. So this is a critical 2 minutes and 39 seconds for the Raiders in terms of getting back in the game. And if you can't win it, make it a competitive where Gulf Coast is going to have to earn it.
Absolutely, and those are the things as a coach that I don't think a lot of people, you know, factor in. There's a whole lot more that goes into it than just press. It's a whole lot more than just throwing that press out there.
Yeah, and really, Raiders aren't built for that. I mean, that's not their identity. That's not who they are. They're more of a half-court type of team. But now when you open it up to 94 feet, and now you allow those guards to get in transition and get in space and be able to make plays, it doesn't bode, but you have to. I mean, it's a numbers game now. You've got to be able to get back in the game in 2 minutes, and with a 30-second shot clock, you just can't let them take the whole clock shot down.
So Bondu will inbound for the Commodores. Again, 2:39 left. Smith guarded by Kirkendall. Goes back outside. Up to Jones. Jones can't get it in. Kirkendall grabs the rebound. Keeps Bondu from stealing it. Now Kirkendall driving up the floor. Taylor on the outside. Hesitates on that shot. Goes inside and a bad miss right there. A tough one for Taylor. But Pinto with a big play right there. Pinto on the outside, Taylor. Taylor pulls up. Tough night for Taylor, at least when it comes to shooting the basketball.
Yeah, I'm kind of amused by Coach Scoville. She was not happy with one of her players because she knows the game kind of hangs in the balance right now.
Up to Slade. Slade pulls up from 3. Slightly right. Jones fights for that one along with Pinto. And the referees award the ball to Northwest Florida State.
Not really what you're looking for. You're up 10 with 1:46, and you have one of your fourth options shoot a 25-footer with 10 seconds on the shot clock. Coach Scoville not happy with that, but gives the ball back to the Raiders, and they're still not out of this thing. There are a couple possessions here, maybe a 3-point shot.
That's the thing. You get in situations like this, and the 3-point shot keeps all hope alive.
That's the IQ that comes from the bench of Coach Scoville. She realizes right now that there's only one team foul. They've got fouls to give. They can foul and not give up much.
Pinto inbounds to Semabane. Over to Kirkendall, back to Semabane. Pulls up. Good for mid-range. Now an 8-point game. 1:29 left. And you mentioned Coach Scoville, and I think the context for the viewers, if they aren't fully aware of the atmosphere and kind of the landscape around the sport, people like to do comparisons. I'm not big into the comparison game, but for the interest of context, 3 out of 4 national titles. I mean, Rooney Scoville at this level is kind of the equivalent of the Saban, of the Belichick, and I know people, I don't love to do those comparisons because I think it kind of whitewashes what everyone does at their individual level, but in this case, just to provide that context, that is what we're talking about in terms of coaching on the other side.
Yeah, I mean, when I first got into coaching, Rooney was a high school coach in Laurel Hill up the road. And Pater Dews got the Final Fours, won high school state championships, and she's not an overnight success. People, she's built something at wherever she's gone. And when she took a hiatus from coaching at Gulf Coast and came back, she picked up where she left off. She's built a tremendous program there.
Pressure from Northwest Florida. Smith falls hard. No foul call there, though. Pinto inside. Blocked by Slade. Now Bondu passes it up to Jones. Kirkendall on the defense. Foul, hard foul there. Helps her back up.
And it's funny, you know, as we get older, we kind of become a little more tolerant of some things. And talking to Rooney, you know, maybe 10, 15 years ago, she wouldn't allow Smith to do some of the things that she does. But, you know, she's allowed Smith to use her creative, God-given ability to play the game. And sometimes that's what you have to do. You kind of have, she's not a coach where she has to control. You know what I mean? That's probably her biggest strength is she lets her players be able to play, but they also have to play within the system of what she has established.
Whistle there, Bondu. Now under a minute, 59.2. And the other thing that you notice is the common thread among all great coaches is it's 8-point game, 59 seconds left. You know, the thinking is burn as much of that shot clock as possible, but she's not slowing down at all. There's no lack of intensity as you just salt away the game. It's still just as intense as ever.
No, they're all teaching points. You know, you want to learn, you want to try to grow as a team, and this is you're coming on the road to a team that's only lost one game, a top 5 nationally ranked team, and you play them on their home floor. You want to take advantage of that, and you want to try to grow as much as possible. You got to keep in mind now, JUCO, you only have them for 2 years, so it's hard to build any type of continuity, if you will. So you have to take advantage of every teaching point you can to make sure your team is aware of what you want them to be aware of.
Farsi at the line, converts on that one.
And everybody's got a journey. These kids, this is probably their second or third school. So it kind of makes it special when you can get a team to buy in so quickly. I mean, I asked Coach Hicks on the sideline before the game, and I said, "How many bad practices have you had?" And he just looked at me and said, "We don't have bad practices." And he said, I don't mean to be sarcastic about it, but we just don't tolerate it. We have a high level every day, and we come to the gym floor with a purpose. And players don't have that. That's got to come down from the head coaching and establishing what your priorities are and what your goals are. And they're the #1 team in the country for a reason. I mean, you look at them, and they're the probably total opposite of what we're going to see with the men's team. They're not real deep. They don't press a whole lot. You know, they're more at a half court. Talking about the Gulf Coast Commodores. With the men, the Gulf Coast men, you're going to see nonstop pressing and nonstop action. But I think there's a lot of ways to win. But what Coach Goebel's done and Coach Hicks have done is just establish. They bring in great players. Number one, they've established tremendous networking relationship with other college coaches. And those coaches, who are the best names in the business, trust them to develop those players when they'll get them back at North Carolina or Louisville or wherever they decide to go.
Ball is tipped. Slade gets it. Farsi now going to bring it back. Foul there on number 4, Gabriela Sales, the sophomore out of Sao Paulo, Brazil. And you mentioned that second game of the doubleheader that we got coming up. If you're like me and you feel like we've only just gotten started tonight, you feel like this one ended too quick, well, don't worry. We've got an entirely different basketball game, an entirely new basketball game coming up right after this. The Northwest Florida men, the Gulf Coast men going head-to-head, and that one is going to be just as interesting for several different reasons. But, you know, this has been a battle of heavyweights at the women's level, and we're going to see a very interesting game featuring the men here coming up.
I'll talk a little bit more about that before the game starts. But yeah, we're going to it'll be a very interesting game with those two.
Kirkendall bringing it up, drives right to the basket, tipped out. Looked like Smith might have gotten her hand on that one. But perhaps that last bounce goes off Northwest Florida State. Now over to Farsi, 41 seconds remain. 12-point game, another foul. Sales right there. The Commodores will return to the free throw line. split on that one. Makes it a 13-point game. And Farsi makes it 2 for 2. 77-63 now as we near the 30-second mark remaining. Another stoppage there.
Kind of like what we talked about with getting in that high teens range with the point spread. And I know some people don't look at that, but you know, people are going to pick up the paper. The other conference members are going to pick up the paper and say, "Wow, Gulf Coast went on the road to Northwest," and it adds to their swag. You know what I mean? It's all about confidence too. Raiders got to be confident they can play with Gulf Coast, which they can.
Foul there. We're down to 23 seconds.
It goes with. I've always believed this, and Coach Kevin Craig, who coached for me at Fort Walton, now at South Walton, guards win championships, and it comes down to that. And those two guards for Gulf Coast, number 10 and 12, Farsi and Smith, are really, really solid.
That reminds me of one of the bigger cliches in sports media, and that is when you get to March and you turn on ESPN or Fox, it's just a whole lot of people saying guard play. That's you can always tell the guys who don't cover college basketball because it's just guard play. That's all I know. That's one of the bigger cliches when it comes to the coverage of March Madness. But it's true.
It is.
It is so true. I mean, we're seeing that tonight. The guard play advantage has been on the side of Gulf Coast. Big shot there from Sales. So they dribble it out. And a victory for the Commodores. 78-66, the Raiders fall. Tough way to open Panhandle play, but look, tough way to open Panhandle play against arguably the best program in the nation. I mean, you look at Northwest Florida, I think you look at that margin, and as you mentioned, that game much closer than that margin for most of the entirety of the game.
Yeah, it wasn't a 12-point game, but Gulf Coast kind of went away with it a little bit. But just a fantastic action. You know, it was a chess match with two kind of opposite styles. You opened it with saying the #1 offense against the #1 defense. Well, the #1 offense comes out on top on the road today.
Absolutely, and I think when you talk about a player of the game, when you talk about the single player that made the biggest advantage, I think you got to look at the Commodore side. You got to look at Alana Smith. I mean, she was just automatic all night long. You look at 29 points, 10 rebounds, add in 3 assists, 5 steals, a block. I mean, it's just, she got it done everywhere on the court. She got it done in every facet of the game. And Alana Smith, I think, on the Commodore side, was the biggest playmaker.
Yeah, by far. She really was the difference maker of the game. But, you know, that's what Rooney said. Coach Govil said that at the end of the night, you think she hasn't played well or she didn't do this, and she's a stat stuffer. You know, she gets rebounds, she gets points. She makes other people better because she plays with such a confidence about her. So yeah, she was a tremendous player today. She's a very, very good player. Going to have a good career at Louisville, and I'll have to follow her when she gets to the collegiate level there.
Absolutely. So 17 points for Semibene, 19 for Pinto, 17 for Peoples. A balanced attack for Northwest Florida in that loss. Any final thoughts on the Raider women?
Well, they've got to bounce back. You know, that's 2 in a row they've lost, and in every championship season, you're going to go through a little piece of adversity, whether it's an injury, whether it's a losing streak, whatever the case may be. You've got to be able to respond, and it's going to test their mettle that they get back in the gym and go to work. But they've got to get better guard play. I mean, it really comes down to that. Their post players were good. I like what they do offensively with the high-low and trying to get the ball inside. But you've got to have good guard play in this conference, and they struggle tonight.
Absolutely. So the second game of our doubleheader coming up. The first game, the Raiders fall to the Gulf Coast Commodores. But as I mentioned, game 2 of the doubleheader coming up here shortly. We'll be back with you as the Raider men take on the Commodore men from Gulf Coast.